Now it's time for Straight on the Point with Jesse T from some undisclosed location somewhere in the world. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Jesse T.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm back. I am back. I am so back. Excuse me, I had to burp. You know, the worst thing that you can do is eat a vegetarian burrito before you go on the air. Don't ever do that because it's really good though. I go to this place just around the corner here and I get this veggie burrito because I can't have any kind of meat. And I haven't had sugar for 4 weeks. I've eliminated about 90% of my sugar out. And man, I am an addict. I am a total, absolute 100% sugar addict. There's no doubt about that. We're all addicts. I mean, it's unbelievable what I've had to go through in order to get the sugar out of my system. But after 4 weeks, I'm pretty good right now. I'm not as addicted as I was when I started. And I at night is when I get that chocolate addiction. I want to go like to, 24-hour CVS and get some ice cream, chocolate, fudge. It's a chocolate addiction that kills me, the milk chocolate addiction. It just kind of kills me. And so I want to have that, or Dr. Pepper or Mr. Pibb, like a 32 ounce. Oh, man. But, I'm getting over it. 6 weeks to break a habit, 6 weeks to create a habit. So I'm breaking that habit. And I'm going to just about be over. Hey, it's the Jesse T Show. It is a Tuesday in Southern California. Another beautiful day here in the beautiful land of paradise. Yes, off to the left of us is the beautiful blue Pacific Ocean. To the right of us are snow-capped mountains. And in between is a whole bunch of filthy Los Angeles. And they got to do something about these streets. They got to do something about the homeless. They got to do something about the filth and the trash. They just got to do something, because if they don't do something in 10 years, we're going to have a tank to get around this town. There's so much rubbish and trash in the streets everywhere. It's amazing. So we're back on the air and everywhere, from the community to the world, at facebook.com/Jesse Terrero. Also, Instagram Live at Jesse Terrero. You want to check that out. And live stream, Periscope, Tumblr. We're on the Power of Voices in studio today. I've been roaming around Southern California the last week and a half or so, but we're in studio, and it's always good to be home here at home base. That's for sure. And so www.thepowerofvoices.com. That's where you can find us there and check it out. And also download that free app for Android and Apple. Okay. That way you can take these shows, because they do archive up, and there's a lot of shows. There's something on the Power of Voices for everybody's taste. There really is. So you just got to kind of search the directory and check it out. And of course, we're on every day from 5 to 6 right here on the Jesse T Show. And today I have a very special guest. We haven't seen the Reverend here in about a year. A lot of interesting things have happened in his life, and I have him back on the show. Reverend James Stern. How you doing, buddy?
Real good.
Yeah.
Always good. Always great to be with you. Always great.
And it's great to have you, because so many interesting things have happened in your life in this last year. It's unbelievable, the story he's going to tell. Now, if you don't know who James Stern is, first off, I met him way back when the dinosaurs roamed the planet Earth, and he and I were acting like Tarzan. We had our leopard skins on. I mean, way back in the... Man, well, no, you're not. No. I'm as old as the Dead Sea when it was alive. And so, but we go back to the old K-Day days, at 1580 K-Day, when we were doing hip hop and stuff, and they were having a lot of problems in what was then known as South Central LA, with the Crips and the Bloods and the Coke and the CIA and all that stuff that was going on, the destruction of the black family, destruction of the neighborhoods, the drive-by shootings from the Latino gangs and the black gangs, and all that crazy stuff through the, through that, oh gosh, about 10-year span in there. And the Reverend here was part of a big church then, weren't you? One of the ones that everybody knew about, and you did a lot of stuff out in the community to try to solve these kinds of problems.
Tabernacle Faith Baptist Church was my home church, where I became a minister, licensed and ordained there, and they launched me. Yes, absolutely.
And so he would go out there in the neighborhoods, the warrior neighborhoods of the time, because for those of you who maybe were born after that in the 1990s or just to only know it by, the movie that Dr. Dre just did, if Straight Outta Compton, if that's all you really know about, let me tell you, you get in some of these neighborhoods like down in Rolling 60s, you get some of these neighborhoods, and if you didn't have the right color shirt on, you got yourself in trouble real fast, real fast. It don't matter what kind of who you were. You had to have the right to. So I had 2 color shirts in the backseat of my car. Blue, huh? You darn right I did.
Just like your microphones. I see
yes, sir. I'm still living by that, man. Because you never knew who was driving by, and it was a very dangerous time. I mean, you went down there and you were down there trying to make peace and.
I was born and raised.
Yeah,
that was home for me. I really had no choice. It's either live in a war zone or try to be part of the problem,
right,
or change. And there's another part, or be a victim,
right.
And being a victim was definitely not a solution or option for me.
It was really difficult during that time, though, to get things done because the city and the police were different.
Oh, Daryl Gates.
Yeah, Daryl Gates was like, strong arm of the law.
That was a
Wild West.
That was mafia at its best.
Yeah.
He kept secret files on everybody. That he kept people blackmailed, and no one understood why he was so multi-powerful. But we learned from Caesar. Even Rome fell.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
So there's nothing that's not too big that it can't fall.
So when you were down there at that time, I mean, you didn't pick what part of town. You just went wherever the need was.
Yeah. The Bloods and Crips, we call it Watts.
Right.
It was South Central Los Angeles for real, not
this
new maps situation.
Yeah, they got it all mixed up now.
And, that's fine with me. It just, I was there at a time when Watts had a boundary.
Mm-hmm.
And Watts, Compton, and Inglewood were 3 separate places.
Right.
Had their different gangs, and one gang did not dare cross over into the next territory.
Right.
And so I had to walk the streets of all of those gangs and invite them to the first gang summit.
I remember that, the gang summits. We showed up. K-Day showed up all the time at the summits.
And the media was crazy.
We were the only ones that showed up to try to solve anything at that time.
You guys were a partner, though.
Yeah.
Unlike a lot of media was there to
they wanted to see violence.
Right. You guys became a partner involved. And what I mean by partners, that you guys offered solutions. You closed the cameras down for a second, the radio thing, and say, hey, let's talk.
Right.
And that was very helpful. And then you guys carried out your part afterward. A lot of people just, after the summer was over with,
right.
It became let's clone it.
Right.
Everybody from American, everything popped up. It became political and money making.
Right. Well, it got an image.
Yeah.
And it got a brand.
Exploiting young people was the popular thing to do back then. And
right.
It's no different now. We still exploit our young people.
So you went on your way. You left there, and somehow you made it to the South.
I was kidnapped.
I wanted you to tell the story.
I was hostage. I was sitting in my home one day, and
in what?
No, I was actually in Moreno Valley.
Moreno Valley. Okay. That's Moreno Valley is just east of us, about an hour and a half.
Riverside County.
Yeah, Riverside County.
I was sitting in my home, and somebody knocked on the door, and I went to the door and looked through the peephole. And said, "Oh shit!" Excuse my language.
That's all right.
And I says, "Whoa!" It was a bunch of white people, suits, uniforms, everything just lined up. And when I looked out my back where the pool window was,
right,
it was shadows all over the place. And it was the United States Secret Service, the United States Postal Inspector, the FBI, the Sheriff's Department, LAPD.
So why did they show up at your house?
They was executing a warrant that was issued out of Mississippi on the largest identity theft ring ever in the country. The United States Secret Service is there because they investigate identity theft.
Right.
The United States Postal Inspector is there because they anything crossed state lines.
Right.
The FBI was federal.
Right.
And naturally, the local. I was living locally, so they were there.
Right.
So it took them they arrested me. It took them about 2 weeks for every agency to drop their warrants against me and clear me.
Meanwhile, you're sitting in jail
I'm
somewhere.
in jail for 2 years, 6 months in a California jail, waiting for Mississippi just to come and get me on an extradition warrant. 2 years, 6 months, Jesse, I sat in jail just waiting to be picked up. I filed every appeal, to every court there was, and no one can overturn another state's warrant.
Right.
California got to the point where they says, if they don't come and get you in 4 days, we're letting you go. You still have that warrant out for you, but we're going to let you go.
Right.
Well, when that happened, they naturally came and got me. And
Right.
guess who signed the governor's warrant?
Who?
Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was the one who signed it, along with Haley Barbour.
Oh
They
boy.
signed and when you get a governor's warrant, you can't fight extradition.
No.
And so Arnold's position was, I've spoke to his people since then. He says he was depending on the justice system to send me there, to clear me, and if I was guilty, you have to pay for what you've done. If you're innocent, you'll get cleared and sent back. He didn't know welcome to Mississippi. So,
That's someplace you don't want to be.
you don't want to go unless you
Especially if you're going there and you're already in trouble.
Right.
You don't want to go there. Maybe if you go there and you're not in trouble, you can get around. But when you're in trouble going there, but you really weren't in trouble because
I was.
what were you doing in Moreno Valley? Were you shipping stuff by mail order or something?
Wrong. Instead of them admitting that we had the wrong person, when I got to Mississippi, they held me for 2 years, 6 months in California. They came and extradited me, Con Air. I went through that whole Con Air experience, which is real. It's not just a movie. When I got there, 2 months.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage wasn't on there with you.
No.
This one, right? No.
He wasn't no Nicolas Cage. These are the real boys.
Yeah.
It's called Final Destination.
Oh boy.
And when I got there, they held me in jail for 2 months, waiting to see my first appearance. 2 months, not the due process. You have 48 hours.
No.
Now 2 months. And when I saw the judge, they brought me in front of the judge and the judge looked at me and says, "Mr. Stern," he says, "you've been convicted of corporate wire fraud." He says, "You've been sentenced to 25 years to state penitentiary. Take them away." I said, "Whoa." I said, "What about the Constitution? A trial? Do I get a trial?"
So wait, now you get there, you're sitting in a jail cell for 2 months, no attorney, nobody's talking to you, no public defender, not knowing what the charges were or what they were not or what they were coming up with, no one answering any of your questions, no one giving you any information, and you really don't even know when you're going to go see the judge because you were just sitting there waiting. And the first time you appear in front of the judge, which should have been basically just a hearing to tell you your charges, and they
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
How did they convict you without going through the process?
Mississippi.
I
had
okay.
the one judge that was, I had the
Lord.
one that Judge Schwanjurger was the one judge that was left over from the 50s and 60s,
Right.
From the time when they had Jim Crow laws, and he carried them out for the Klan, for the KKK expeditiously because he was a Klansman. Okay, and so you have to understand. Out here in California, black and white people, we get along very well.
Right.
If I don't like you as a white man, it's not because you're white, it's because you're a jerk.
Right.
Or I'm a jerk.
Right.
We have reasons.
Yeah.
Out there, they don't like each other just because of the color.
It don't
And
matter.
Didn't matter.
Explain a little bit the racism and that type of discrimination, because a lot of our audience on the West Coast and a lot of young people don't really understand it because they've never lived in it.
Don't have a clue. Let me just say that in the short term that Mississippi is still healing from slavery. Unfortunately, you have some deep scarred wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And after living with the Imperial Wizards of the KKK, I understand them a lot better now. There were some things done to people that were so unimaginable, unthinkable. Not even the media knew it was going on back in those days because they was on the Vietnam War.
Right.
Even when the media found out this was going on,
Mm-hmm.
they left the Vietnam War. What would make the world leave the Vietnam War and go on to create the Civil Rights Movement?
Right.
Something had to be pretty bad
Right.
for that to happen.
Right.
So you had two top stories competing at the same time, and who won out? The Civil Rights Movement, because the horrific atrocities that was going on to African American people back then,
Right.
and Jews.
Right. And this is circa 1980s now for you because you're not that old. So we're talking relatively a recent time, only about 40 years ago, 30 to 40 years ago.
I went to jail 2004. I was arrested.
Right.
Got to Mississippi.
Okay, so
2011.
not the 80s, in the
No,
2000s.
2011. I went to
So
jail.
we're talking 20 years ago.
10.
Just 20 years ago.
Yeah. And I got arrested. Yeah. And 10 years, within about 10 years span, I went through the process. So yeah, it's something that's
Man.
recent. You know, and to be candid, when they gave me the 25 years, I had to fight as my own lawyer. I spent the next 4 years appealing to all the federal courts because the state
Right.
court was so corrupt.
So you became like a jailhouse lawyer.
I became they called me the Johnny Cochran of, because I was the only inmate in the whole prison system in Mississippi was going back and forth to court. I was the only one that was
Filing
changed.
motions.
I filed motions on popsicle wrappers, napkins, paper towels, whatever I could get my hand on that had paper, because they kept paper from me.
Right.
I would
Because they didn't want you to file no more motions.
I would put an envelope, and the only reason why the judge saw me because the judge says, bring him to court because he's insulting this courtroom, and I'm going to give him federal charges. The judge looked at me and said, Mr. Stern, he says, you are not going to insult this court no more. He says, you're filing motions on paper wrappings of popsicles and paper towels.
Hey, well, give me some friggin' paper, Judge.
I told the judge, he said, no. He says, you can't. He said, you had your trial. I said, Your Honor, I didn't have a trial. He says, you pleaded guilty. I said, no, didn't plead. They gave me 25 years. I said, read the transcripts. He says, pull the transcripts up. And I'm smiling, laughing, thinking,
Right.
Okay,
You
good
got
luck
them
with that
now.
one.
Right.
They couldn't find the transcript.
Oh, they disappeared,
The
right?
transcripts conveniently disappeared.
Yes.
There's not a transcript of
Yeah.
any proceeding whatsoever because there was no transcripts.
Man, and this is 2000s in Mississippi. Can you just imagine what it was like in 1920 or 1880?
I can safely say no, and I'm glad I don't have to.
Man.
Young people, you live on the backs and shoulders of people who've paid the price for your freedoms you have today.
Wow.
Don't squander it, because people have paid the price for that freedom that we have.
So now they put you in jail. You're trying to get out. You're trying to just get somebody to hear your case. Excuse me.
5 lawsuits.
All right.
1983 for civil rights violations. I filed an appeal.
Excuse me.
And the commission, just fast forward, I was the first and only inmate in the history of Mississippi to get the commissioner of the Department of Correction in a jury trial. That runs the whole Department of Corrections for youth and adults.
Wow.
And he was the longest setting commissioner, ex-colonel in the
Was he KKK member
He was a
too?
black man.
Oh,
And-
okay.
and-
Okay.
And to make a long story short, not only did I win that jury trial, I put him away just last year. I had him convicted of 19 years, 4 months for corruption and embezzlement.
So he was corrupting the system
He was
as
the most
well.
corrupt- He was so corrupt it wasn't funny. He's the one who kicked me out of prison.
Wow.
He was so tired of me having him in court. They tried to kill me. And I have a book out called James Hart Stern.
Yeah, let's get to that now. Now, before we get to that, you're in prison, and they put you in. They put you in not in a regular cell. They don't put you in general population. They decide to put you in
Unit 31.
with probably the godfather of the KKK in its heyday in the 40s and 50s.
Well, you don't say he was still the Imperial Wizard.
Yeah, the Imperial Wizard, the real one, not this David Duke guy. But I mean, this was the hardcore dude, right? And the Grand Wizard Edgar Ray Killen. Now, he's an older man at this time, right?
He was 85 when he went to prison. In 2005, he was convicted. 50 years later, it took him 50 years. It took him 50 years to get convicted, and it took the first elected Democrat Attorney General to do it.
So he had been doing lots of crappy stuff for 50 years.
Yeah.
So they put you in this cell with this guy, probably thinking, like you said, hey, we're going to get him now. So what happened?
Well, Edgar Ray Killen had a death threat out on his life. He was in a prison that was 98% black. He's done killed everybody and caused every family in Mississippi to have somebody dead in their family. So all the blacks in prison wanted to kill him. Even the cops, the lieutenants, the captains, they all tried to kill him. They had to put him in a cell with somebody black because the population was all black.
Right.
The fact that I was from California, they thought I was strange. You know, I was Cali. They thought I was a strange person.
Right.
Strange because I got along with white people. And I didn't have I didn't have the same dog in the fight because I wasn't from Mississippi.
Right.
I didn't even know who Edgar Ray Killen was. I remember coming back from court, Jesse, and the ward was standing next to me. Now, when a ward stands next to you, that's not good. they asked me, Stern, have you ever heard of a man named Edgar Ray Killen? I says, nope. They said, you don't know who he is? I said, nope. I said, you going to get me out of jail? They laughed and thought it was a joke. They said, have you ever saw the movie Mississippi Burning? I said, I've heard of the movie, but I've never saw it. At the time, I never saw it.
Right.
They said, you never saw that movie? You don't know who he is. Warden said, he'll do. Now, mind you, I'm not too impressed because I'm in there with the worst of the worst pedophiles, murderers, I'm in Unit 31 of Parchment Penitentiary, the worst prison in the country. Okay, right. Parchment Farm they're still trying to find the deaths of all those bodies. Remember the movie Brubaker?
Yes,
that's Brubaker right there.
Wow.
So they put me in a cell with this man, and I don't like using the N word, but if you read my book or if you're going to see the movie one day, you're going to see a lot of the N word.
All right. Well, so this is the book. It's James Hart Stern, and it's
through Mississippi Justice.
It's a journey through Mississippi Justice. It is a terrific book. It's a terrific book. You got to read this because the inside story. We're not going to be able to address it all here because we got just a few more minutes on this topic, and then we have to
go to my website.
Yeah,
thejameshartstern.com. They can order it right away.
Okay, so yeah, you can get that book because it is so compelling. This story, it's unbelievable. So now you're in the jail cell with the worst Grand Wizard of all time, and he basically opens his heart to you and tells you everything about his life.
He wrote me 170 over a period of time because when he was telling me these things. I remember seeing wardens and captains at my door. And I'm thinking he's a delusional, crazy man because the stuff he was telling me couldn't be true.
Right.
We don't tolerate that here. We had to watch riots.
Right, right. Yeah.
And I remember them asking me, they says, why is he telling you this stuff? We've been trying to find out for 50 years. I says, I don't know. You put me in a cell with this crazy man. They said, no. They said, he's not talking crazy. They said, we've been trying to find this stuff out for 50 years. They said, why is he telling you, a black man? And people have to understand that, well, some things I'm not going to say because you got to read the book. But,
yeah, read the book.
But let me just say this to you. Being a cellmate of an individual shouldn't shock you that people become close.
Right.
It also should not shock you that historically throughout history, even in slavery, the white slave masters have always had a black person that they liked.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he was called the house nigger or whatever the case was. It's not unusual for a white man to befriend a black man. Mm-hmm. Even when he found all of them were deplorable, he found one he can talk to more comfortable than his own people. Because remember, there was no judgment there.
Mm-hmm.
So he became Edgar. Yeah, he wrote me 174 letters. He named everybody he ever killed. The Justice Department used my letters to close out mostly all the cold cases. Matter of fact, every cold case from the 50s and 60s is now closed out.
Because of your letters.
Those letters confirmed. I remember the day I got out of jail, and I had those letters with me, and I was shocked that they didn't search me.
Right.
But I had 4 boxes of legal paperwork that I had them all here.
Well, you were filing stuff on paper wrappers, so they figured that's
all I had.
That's all you got in there, man.
And then they didn't want to touch me.
Right.
So no one wanted to be called as a witness.
Right. Not was you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they pretty much left me alone after a while.
Yeah.
But I remember the FBI picked me up the day I got out of jail. First, the NAACP contacted me and brought me in front of Morris Dees. Remember Morris Dees?
Yeah.
Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah.
He became my new BFF for a while, wanting my letters and stuff. And then the FBI picked me up and they asked could they see my letters. And I went to the Johnny Cochran firm back there in Mississippi, which turned out to be, it was so funny that Johnny Cochran turned over his grave today if he saw what they'd done to his firm.
Oh, really?
Well, it's owned by a white guy bought the rights to the firm, and he put a black guy as the face of the firm, and so all the decisions made by this white lawyer, and the black lawyer has no say so. Okay, so welcome to Mississippi. Exactly. And so I remember he was my lawyer, and we arranged a meeting with the FBI in his office, and they looked at my letter. But he bought this old man. He was an agent, but he was old. And he looked at the letters, and he says, and if you look at the back of the book, you see the letters are in the back of the book, Jesse.
Right.
I made sure that people can see the letters. And if you look at his handwriting, it's very distinctive.
Yeah.
Okay? You can never undistinct his handwriting. It's not like
that's his handwriting.
Else. Yeah.
Right.
And the old man looked at the letter and he looked at me, he says, first he looked at the young agent and says, and then he says, where'd you get these letters? I says, Edgar Ray Killen wrote them. And he told the agent, he says, they're real.
Wow.
He says, can we keep them? I said, no.
No.
You know, I said, am I under arrest? You know, do you? He says, no. He said, but we like a copy of them.
Man, you just want to get out of Mississippi as fast as you can.
That's it.
Right.
So that was it. But that was, you know, that was basically it. Unlike, I'm not a Grand Wizard, but he was the Imperial Wizard, which is a correction. Imperial Wizard is the one who rules the clan. He had like 4 million clansmen under his belt. Let me explain something. People say there was no 4 million people registered as a clansman. You were never registered as a clansman. Mm-hmm. It's a lifestyle. Mm. It's how you lived, what you believed in. Mm-hmm. Whether you had a hood on yourself or not, or whether you had, there's more Klansmen today. They just don't wear hoods.
Oh, they say LBJ was a Klansman.
Oh well, he was. The letter.
Yeah.
Let me say this. There's letters. I've had such controversy about my book because it tells the truth about LBJ.
Yeah.
You know, he never did give blacks the voting rights in that first Bill of Rights.
No.
People never read it.
No.
He did not. He gave us 2 seats on the floor. Yeah. And you do realize that all the Republicans today used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
And because of those 2 blacks they gave on the floor as a seat, they all became overnight Republicans. That's how racist it was. And LBJ says, he said, a black man would never vote. He said, a nigger would never vote as long as I'm president.
Yeah.
And he got caught.
Yeah, he was, LBJ was not the guy that,
he was a piece of work.
that has been portrayed. That's
well,
for sure.
He was one of Edgar Ray Killing's best friends.
Gee, I wonder why. Yeah. All right, so you can find out all about this story. That's just a little slice of it right here because we want to move on to the next topic. And really what you're in here for is to talk about what's happening right now. So you want to pick this book up at www.thejamesstern.com, JamesStern.com. James Hart Stern, journey through Mississippi justice with all the letters that the Grand Wizard wrote. They're right there. You see some of those letters. These are handwritten letters, 174 of them, right here. Talk about the KKK in ways that you have never ever seen before from the Imperial Grand Wizard Edgar Ray Killen, who James was in a bunkhouse mate.
You do know I own his property.
And he owns his property.
He deeded
now.
his 41 acres of property over.
Boy, he liked you, didn't he?
Yeah,
he really liked you.
He
really
trusted me pretty well.
Yeah.
He gave me his powers of attorney and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, God was working on your side there.
I was technically the first black man to run
Isn't
the KKK.
that irony, though? Is that irony or what?
That's when we disbanded, with the KKK. Yeah.
It's the guy hates black people. Mm-hmm. For that matter, he hated anybody of any color. Mm-hmm. Okay, he hated Jews, too.
Oh, worse.
He hated them worse.
Worse.
Okay, he had so much hate for so many different groups, but yet he befriends you at the end of his life, and and becomes great buddies, and he deeds you his power of attorney and his property, and
told his wife to sign over her book movie rights.
It's just unbelievable. Yeah. It's just unbelievable. Okay, so flash forward now. We're in 2018, and some new things are happening here that are just as egregious as that, at least from the business point of view.
And it's a continuation of the whole story. It's an attempt to keep. It became an attempt. I received the first restraining order by a Riverside County jail that restrained the KKK from being around me because my life was in such danger. Okay, when they found out what I had in these letters, the KKK got a restraining order. But in that courtroom that day was a man that I did not know was a KKK member, white guy who approached me as a publisher. I did a speech. It was that last year. Remember when there was a big riot on Anaheim?
Right.
I was one of the people that the law enforcement relied on talking to the leaders because I'm in contact with the leaders of the KKK.
Right.
And I was doing a speech the next day in front of 200 people on racial reconciliation, which is a wonderful nonprofit group. And we try to bring people together. This guy was introduced to me, and I didn't know he was sitting in court that day when I got the KKK restraining order as a publisher. His name was Baltimore's Andy Broadway. That's
the guy I met.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you
polished.
did this speech and this discussion over here right by the station.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Andy Broadway portrayed himself as a publisher of Abundant Press, and he had some very important people believing in him as the publisher of the century coming up.
So he checked out pretty good.
He checked. Who would have ever doubted him in Beverly Hills? When you have the mayor of Beverly Hills and everybody there, all these groups and
Right.
stuff. So
Right.
he talked to me, and I agreed to do. Well, I had all kind of book deals with Random House and Simon Schuster and HarperCollins
Right.
talking to me. I went with him because he wanted to do something that none of them else was going to do. It was how you promote the book was important to me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't going to be sitting in front of a bookstore propped up with a stick behind me signing books.
Right.
This has had to be something that involved the community, educating young people about civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time, it's important that white people, young kids, read Black history.
Mm-hmm.
If they learn about our history, they'll understand us better.
Well, they certainly understand American history better.
Because it's
all
intertwined.
intertwined.
Exactly. Well, when this guy had a contract for 18 months to complete my book,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of that 18 months, he started wanting to censor the book. He wanted to take important families out, political families of the South. He wanted to he didn't want the letters inside the book at all. He started doing all this stuff
Without your knowledge?
Without my knowledge, and then he wanted to name the book. The book was always going to be called James Hart Stern, which is the brand of the book because
Right.
there's a movie coming out.
Yeah, but there was another cover at one time.
And he named it "Killing the KKK."
Right.
I definitely didn't like that because even though the name "Killing" is Edgar Ray Killing's name,
Right.
it implied killing.
Right.
People first glance only heard the word "killing the KKK." How does a preacher and an advocate of peace have a book called "Killing the KKK"?
Right.
And so it costed me a lot of flack. People say, "Oh, you want to kill us, huh?" I said, "No, bro." I said, "You messing with my life now." Now I already know it's not a safe subject in the first place, but you can also throw gas on fuse. That's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So he published the book in October. January, he gave me a spreadsheet. Me and my co-author, I
Right.
found a wonderful woman named Autumn Robinson to write the book for me
Right.
because I'm not the best writer in the world. But she took my story and all the
Well,
information.
you must be real good writing on little wrappers,
Yeah.
candy wrappers and stuff, because you certainly got yourself out of Mississippi.
have popsicle wrapper. I will write on it. Okay?
Yes, that's right.
I think it's my love for ice cream, strawberry.
Oh, Lord.
Autumn Robinson, she did a wonderful job with the book, as you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
She wrote the book in 3 months because he fired the first writer. They fell out. A Jewish woman, Shira Bush, much respect for her.
Mm-hmm.
But when he approved the book, he was making her make changes of it. He wouldn't let her talk to me after our initial meetings because he was manipulating the book to censor it. He was directly working for the KKK to try to keep information out of the book that was necessary.
And you found out this later.
I found out only because first I contacted him when he sent me a spreadsheet saying that Amazon sold 26 books, which it was on his spreadsheet.
Right.
And I said, well, I didn't sign over 1,000 books. So people who bought the book and, bought it to me to sign, what's this 26 books you speaking of?
Right.
And that made somebody call me and says, you need to get on the internet right now and type in the name Abundant Press. I've done it before, but this time when I did it, something called Ripoff.
Right. It's another website. Yeah.
It popped up and he was all on Ripoff. This big printer out of Mexico who does all the printing for all the all the books.
Right. That's what
This man, Jay, is unbelievable. He wrote on there, you go to Ripoff and put in Abundant Press, Andy Broadway, how this guy, Andy, contacted him, said that my wife is dying of cancer. Not true. He says, my name is Andy Broadway, and he says, I need you to do these 3 books real fast for me and help out, And I said, oh, please don't let that be my book. And he wrote how the man never paid him.
Oh.
I called the Ripoff people and begged them, put me in contact with this man.
Right.
They checked me out first because they don't want people
Right.
doing.
Right.
And then they saw there was a need, so they put me in contact with him. And he says James Hart Stern. Now, he said it wasn't in the way that you want to hear your name said. I said,
Yeah.
it sounded like a school teacher.
Boy.
Call your full name or your
Right.
parent.
Right.
And he said, I did your book. I said, what? He said, I'm the one who did the cover and the typeset and everything for your book. He said, I rushed it in 48 hours because this man told me his wife was dying of cancer.
And this is the Andy Broadway.
The Andy Broadway. We thought his name was Andy Broadway.
He
said, I've been looking for him.
Wait a minute. Wait. That's not even his real
not
name?
even his name.
Oh, you got to get to that. Okay,
This
go
man,
ahead.
he said, I've been looking for this man all over Oklahoma. I says, why Oklahoma? He said, well, that's where he said he's at. I said, sir, I don't know where you look for Andy Broadway is, but he's in Southern California with me, and I see him all the time. He said, well, he's not a publisher. He said, there's no such thing as Abundant Press. He said, Abundant Press is supposed to be a subsidiary of Innovative Digital Marketing Strategies. He said that corporation was revoked in 2013, and he's deliberately been using that corporation to defraud people out of their products and properties since then. I says, what? He says, you need to contact the Nevada Secretary of State and talk to them. I did, and confirmed everything. If you just go online and put in abundant press, it doesn't exist. And if you put in innovative digital marketing strategies, it says revoked 2013. So the Secretary of State busted my little bubble too. And I say, Mr. Stern, you signed a contract when with them? I said, 2016. She said, you don't have a contract. She said, you can't have a contract with a company that doesn't exist.
No, because that entity isn't living.
Right.
It's not living.
She says,
the
but the good thing is
entity.
she said the good thing is you have no obligation to that person, and they have no rights to anything you're doing. And she said the bad thing is that you're dealing with a complete fraud now, which has been going on. And just so you can know, the word Me Too does not just apply to sexual harassment. There's a Me Too of the publishing world.
Yeah, we're going to get to that because this is where it really starts getting really interesting.
I'm finding out that I've just been duped. Let me tell you how bad I've been duped. When Lee Baca was about to start his trial,
right?
Andy Broadway introduced me to Lee Baca.
Don't tell me he had Lee Baca,
he had Lee Baca signing him for his book deal as well. We all thought this man
Lee
was...
Baca, the sheriff.
The sheriff.
The sheriff.
I can show you pictures of me and Lee Baca together at the Church of Scientology and the planning committee because that was...
That's amazing.
Listen, this man is such... Boy, he's so polished and so smooth. He had everybody duped. Okay?
Wow.
Now, mind you, I immediately go into survival mode.
Right.
I'm calling Amazon up and calling Barnes & Noble.
Right. Well, wait. Before we get there, his own family.
Wait. Wait.
He's stupid, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get to that.
We're going to get to that. First, you have to understand that we're trying to find out. I filed a lawsuit against Andy Broadway.
Right.
My contract is Andy Broadway. We only know him as Andy Broadway. I get a restraining order against Andy Broadway.
Right.
He's so comfortable. He's never showing up to court. He never comes to court one day and he loses these cases by default all the time.
Because he doesn't show up.
But he knows that he didn't have to because when the courts come out when the law enforcement come out to enforce a restraining order against him or something, he's not known as Andy Broadway.
Well, that's not his real name.
It's not his real name. So he knew, and then he was apparently he was laughing at me. The day that you met him,
right? I remember
the day that you met him,
the little fat pudgy guy, white guy with
the kid with the bow tie,
the guy with the bow tie, we had this
his
big
family,
camera and all this stuff.
I get a phone after I file all these lawsuits against him and win on Facebook. I put his face there and let people. I warn people because when you deal with con artists, you don't always get satisfaction directly in court fast. Right. The best thing you can do to hurt them and help everybody is to make people aware of them. So when they come across them, they'll know this guy.
So the con can't go anywhere.
The con can't go anywhere. Right. Or if you're not lying, prove to me.
Yeah, but there's a ripe one every day.
There's one. BJ Bottom said there's one born every
day, and
I was one of them. So don't feel bad.
No. We've all been duped at sometime in our lives. I mean, that's how you learn. But so that's not even his real name. Now there's another interesting thing about that's not even his real name. There's a whole something going on with his family.
Well, when I won the lawsuits and stuff, and I'm all proud that I won these lawsuits and everything, I get a phone call.
I want to get to the meat and potatoes of this.
The family. Somebody called me and said, "You need to take this call from this lady you need this call right now."
Right.
I call her up and she says, "I'm Andy Broadway's ex-wife and the mother of his 6 kids." I said, "Okay, you got my attention." She said, "His name is not Andy Broadway." She said his name is Lale Anderson Broadway Jr. She said, and I'm gonna tell you what. Anybody, if you want to hear I tell you what, I'm going to do this for you, Jesse. I'll put on my Facebook page tonight the tape so everybody can hear it.
Oh yeah, you've got these tapes, and we want to play those. We want you there. So go to James Stern's Facebook page. We'll give you that in a couple seconds, and then I'll boost it over to me.
Yeah,
and I'll spread it out across the network.
And I'll tweet it, and you can just retweet it.
Absolutely.
But I'm gonna tell you now. She says his name is not Andy Broadway. It's Lale Anderson Broadway. He's laughing at you because he said you don't even know his real name. He planned on duping you from the beginning. She said back in the day we would make up press passes and do the red carpets and everything.
Right.
She's telling me about how she started telling me stuff that disgusted me. She says, "I'm telling you this because I've been trying to get justice for my daughter." She said he's raped his own daughter multiple times. And I'm listening to all this stuff, but they say hell has no fury like a scorned woman. So I'm asking myself, am I hearing a disgruntled ex-wife, just saying this stuff.
Right.
Turns out she's filed charges.
She's filed charges.
She's filed charges. She's contacted Children's Services. His family has level 4 foster kids.
Oh, so he's been having his way with the foster kids.
And there's 5 deaths that happened in the family. She said,
and level 4 foster kids are the kids that got nobody.
They can't express. They can't express themselves. They can't say, I'm hurting.
Yeah.
They just there.
Yeah,
she said that 5 of them, they pushed down the stairs and committed the murders. The murders written off.
Okay,
so you can see this is a bad acting character.
All right. So now you got this guy. You got this crazy con man who's a criminal. He's a liar. He's a cheat.
Yep.
He's all these things that you're finding out about him. And now you realize that he told you there's only 26 books that sold on Amazon, right?
I called Amazon.
So you call Amazon, and what does Amazon tell you now?
Amazon tells me, I said, first of all, you need to stop.
Because this is where we want to go right now.
I said, you need to stop all my royalties and not pay Amazon. This guy one dime.
Right.
They do shut down the royalties for investigation. I put my book up.
Right.
On Amazon.
On Amazon.
James Hart Stern.
Right.
And open up my own account.
Right.
To give people the supply
and
demand.
Sure.
And on Barnes & Noble, I went through Ingram Sparks, which does 42,000 distributions in 8 countries.
Yeah, they're a big company.
Andy, knowing the game, he's a very smart man. He calls Amazon up and said, there's a copyright dispute. When you say that, now Amazon's saying, okay, we're going to shut down both books until you guys work it out yourselves.
Okay.
I says, we ain't got to do that. I send them a copy of my copyrights from the Library of Congress.
Right.
I send them my contracts from Columbia Pictures, which show. Columbia even wrote a letter.
Because this is good. This is being produced into a film.
Mm-hmm. And my contracts show that I own the separated rights. I own my own copyrights.
Yeah, I remember when you signed that. Right.
I gave Amazon everything that every reasonable person would say. Oh, yes, the copyright's yours. Now show me, Andy, what you have to prove that you have a reason to publish this guy's book.
He has nothing.
He had nothing.
No, because he can't contract with you.
He couldn't produce the contract
because there is no contract.
So it turned out that he have 20 different accounts on Amazon using the same.
Oh boy,
he's making aliases. Amazon is so gullible. The court order that was written for me said that Amazon was guilty of facilitating criminal activity through deliberate indifference and malicious. Deliberate indifference and gross negligence.
Yeah.
They have known for years that people get on their website in 5 seconds, put in their name, address, email address, put in the bank account that you want to be paid at, and then you download any manuscript you want.
Right.
When you download the manuscript, they'll publish it up there under any name you tell them to publish it under. They ask no questions.
Wait, whoa, time out there. They don't do any due diligence to make sure it's copywritten. That the people that are publishing it own the copyrights. They don't ask for any kind of records of that at all.
They don't even find out if you're a real company. They don't get a copy of your state ID with your face. They don't get your business license. They don't get your articles of corporation.
Why do they do that?
Money. Amazon has taken the works of tens of thousands of people's work.
They're the largest book publisher in the world.
And they have used. No one has ever. That's why what I got today out of the court was historical.
Right.
For the first time, the judges.
Well, before you do that, go back and tell what they're doing.
They're taking anybody right now, Jesse. You can go on Amazon and log on, and within 10 minutes you'll be a publisher.
I could take this book right here, and I could say it's mine.
Just change the name.
Change the name.
And you first download the inside of the book on a PDF form.
Right.
Then you download the cover.
Right.
Give it the ISBN number.
This is like Chinese. This is like the Chinese
Knockoffs.
People ripping off and knocking off the records.
Amazon is the biggest facilitator of that. You can't do this unless you have somewhere black market. If you steal my jewelry out of my museum, you got to have specialties places where you can sell that stuff. Amazon has created an environment that allows all the con men and women to facilitate this. That's why you start
and they know it.
You start seeing these self-publishing things advertised all over the country all of a sudden.
How do you know that they know it, though? How do you know that they know they're doing wrong?
When I complained to Amazon, they gave me these emails back and forth saying, work it out with him. How do you work it out with a crook who's trying to facilitate you? Okay? Who's trying to steal from you? You can't facilitate that.
Right.
When I kept talking to them, they kept telling me, we don't get involved. You have an obligation to get involved. This is my copyright it's giving you. You mean tell me you're going to...
So what they're doing is they're distributing something that they have no right to distribute under that copyright that person has because it's an illegitimate copyright. It's not true.
But they make their money.
But they make their money anyway.
When I put the book up there, they tell me it's going to cost me X amount of dollars to print the book.
Right.
Then they tell me how much you charging the book for. $24.95. They'll tell you your royalties are going to be this. We get the difference.
Right.
So they get their royalties. Amazon off the top.
Mm-hmm.
They're making all this money and showing their bottom line growing every day. People don't realize that they're showing their royalties growing because they have so much illegal work on their site. Okay? I had one mother contact me who was the mother of a dead NFL football player.
Right.
She says they made $1.7 million off my book and I didn't get one dime. I says, wow.
How could that be?
Because the third party, the Andy Broadways of the world, the third party publishers promise people they're going to do something and steal all the money. That's why last year California passed a law, Penal Code 523, called theft by pretense.
Well, that's new.
It's new.
Yeah.
It just came out last year that if a person steal your property by pretending to be somebody or something else or promise you something that they never come through with, that's now punishable by criminal code.
Oh, it's not civil. It's not tort.
No, it's not tort. It's criminal. You will now go to prison for it.
Okay.
Okay, and Andy Broadway is the poster
that's
boy.
What he's done.
That's why we the Attorney General's office and I are in contact with each other. Law enforcement told me to file a civil lawsuit against it. I said I did. What's civil? They didn't even know about this law. So new.
No.
And now we have.
So is Amazon? So Amazon becomes a conspirator as part of this.
A part of it
because they
are committing a crime. They're committing a crime
knowing
by pretense.
because they don't do their due diligence to find out if in fact that's truly the copyright of the individual that has posted it up on their site.
If you contact Ingram Sparks to put your book up, they ask you immediately for your tax identification number and your proof of nonprofit or for-profit organization. Okay,
right?
They get something.
Right.
Okay. More should be done, but they get something.
Right. Well, obviously they ask for your copyright too. Copy of your copyright.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Amazon, on the other hand, don't ask for anything. Now, they have a copyright division that when they become a dispute, they said that they review copyrights. I'm personally telling you, I've sent them my copyright, showing that I have the letters copyrighted first, then I copyrighted the whole book.
So you've sent them the information that their dispute department says, send us. You send it to them, but yet they turn to you and tell you,
they
too
said,
bad.
we're putting your book up in 24 hours. Andy calls up and says, nope, don't put it. They put my book up. Andy calls it, nope, it's mine. They take it back down. I'm saying, investigate Andy. I walk them through it. They're on the phone with me. I said, his name is not Andy Broadway. I sent them the documents. I sent them proof that the secretary says it's not a real company. They got everything about Andy Broadway, which name is really Leo Anderson Broadway.
Right.
They now know this is a crook. And they're turning a blind eye because it's majority of crooks making the money than the real thing.
Well, there's a lot of money that Amazon is making on just people filing just to do book publishing. Whether that book sells one book or a million books, it doesn't. They're making worldwide just on the filing fee.
They got me up in 7 countries: Amazon UK, Amazon France, Amazon Italy, Amazon the Middle East.
And you're only selling 26 books.
And then they take me. Here's how you know they're guilty. They take me down off Amazon America because he said it was copyright. If it was really a copyright infringement, why didn't you take my book out of every country?
So when you go to them and you tell them this and you say, look you're responsible for this because you allow the facility for this to take place.
You're facilitating it.
And now that you have knowledge of it, because I've represented this to you and you know about this, what are you going to do about this? And what they say to you?
They were hoping that I was like everybody else. Amazon is so big. If you ever try to find out how to sue Amazon, you know the braces you have to serve them, right?
Right.
It's so hard to find out where to serve Amazon that the average person gets frustrated and just give up.
Right.
Okay? I wasn't giving up.
Right.
When I found out that they were not going to listen to me with some horse sense,
right,
I filed a lawsuit against them.
And that's what you have today.
I filed a $400 million lawsuit against them.
Whoa. How much?
$100 million actual damages. You have to understand, my book is not just any book. My book is based on the facts of the Mississippi Burning story, and it's the basis of a major motion picture to come out.
Sony.
Exactly. I can't talk contractually. I can't talk any further than just mentioning that.
I got it.
But understand, I can only say that he didn't damage any normal property. Okay.
Right.
The reality is, he damaged a property that's worth a lot.
Okay.
And because of the
Right.
contract I had with these
Right.
people,
Right.
it was hurtful.
Right.
When this happened, I filed a lawsuit, and the lawsuit was filed last week.
Right.
Ironically, I filed the lawsuit the same day that Donald Trump announced that he was going after Amazon.
And Jeff Bezos has lost something like to the tune of $23
It
billion.
turned out that the owner of Amazon is the owner of the Washington Post. So when we filed
Jeff Bezos.
when we filed the lawsuit, we naturally sent the lawsuit out to all the media. And it's amazing how when the Washington Post got it, immediately Amazon's really aware of it. Now that my whole situation is assigned to a special group of people
Right.
over Kindle Direct Publishing to handle this.
Right.
But
right.
we're at a point where they now have found out today what they will today. The judge agreed, and I will read it. I asked the judge to distinctly.
They've been served with this already.
They've been served with the lawsuit.
Okay, so
The subpoena was just signed today by the judge, and I asked the judge to give me the names of everyone in both Kindle Direct Publishing and CreateSpace database that is listed as an imprint, self-publisher, or publishing company. That includes email addresses, phone numbers, and copies of their business license, articles of incorporations, and pictures of their state ID used to establish their identity. Documents you received prior to giving them the right to sell the book on Amazon.
you just got a lot of data.
And then I asked, the judge asked me why did I want it. I told him these documents will show the lack of documents that existed prior to allowing someone to sell their book on their site. They will prove Amazon is deliberately indifference and gross negligence by facilitating criminal activity and laundering the stolen monies to these criminals.
Oh boy.
And the judge agreed, so he allowed the subpoena to be issued. And you know how long it takes to get a lawsuit in court?
Yeah.
This judge gave me a May 29th date.
That's
for the
fast.
first court date.
That's very
And
fast.
they have to turn over these documents prior.
That's fast.
Very fast.
Well, they're going to file a motion, though.
They're going to follow. They're either going to do one or two things, Jesse. And I'll say this because I'm an open book.
Right.
Yes, as multiple attorneys have come my way and said, let me take your case. I have not taken a particular attorney because I'm not trying to play the billable hour game.
Right.
And do what's best for the law firm to make billions of dollars off the situation.
Right.
I want to help people.
Yeah.
What I found out is that, yes, Amazon's going to, as they said, throw tens of millions of dollars at you to make you go away. No, you can't do that. I'm going to be paid and made whole. Mm-hmm. Yes, I am. But you're going to also put together a fund that's going to be somewhere like $500 million. And we're going to review. First of all, the first thing I want you to do is, first thing I want Amazon to do is to send a notice on their website out to everybody who's printing a book out.
Just
that
like
they must turn over a copy of their business license, if they're in print, business license, state ID, to prove who they are.
Right.
If they're publishing somebody else's book that's not in their name, you must turn over a contract between that person and you and information we can reach that person to verify you have permission to put this out there.
Yeah.
Immediately, if you don't do that within 7 days, your whole site's closed down. Now, remember, you got one guy with multiple sites. Well, criminals who create these multiple sites don't have multiple business licenses.
No.
Because they don't. So it would get rid of so many of these crooks. And it would tighten the noose around their neck where they will stop doing some of the shenanigans.
Yeah.
Then we're going to review some of the complaints that people, we're going to let them contact us by website.
Well, like the widow of this NFL football player. They make over $1 million in sales, but she receives nothing because the middleman stole it all and went south.
That's what
north or east or west.
If you sold $50,000 in book royalties that went to somebody that you didn't get, we're going to at least be able to offer somewhere like half that in an out-of-court situation. That's what my group's going to. Racial Reconciliation is going to work with everybody and review all these cases and say, we want to at least offer you. Let me tell you something. Since we started this has become the Me Too. People have been saying Me Too. I have been a victim of this public. More writers, creative people. These stories are just fictions. Right. You have people like me. Remember, my son shot himself in the head.
Well, yeah, I know.
You have people who've died behind these stories. That's very personal to them. So when you steal their stories, it's unthinkable. It's not a fictional story you're stealing.
Right.
People's life work has been stolen.
Yeah.
So people are saying, me too. And Amazon's been so big, they didn't care. Your stocks are so great because you're making so much money off of, no one to this very day know how much Amazon makes off of their Kindle and CreateSpace. I will with them, because the next thing we're going to discover is a forensic audit of all of their books, of everybody individually, their monies, and who they were paid to.
Oh, they're not going to want to do this with you.
Well, they can either go through the litigation process I'm going through, or you can settle with me and
create this system,
create the system that I have in place that's going to be at least invasive as possible.
Wow.
But at the same time, look, it's
if
great
this thing goes class action, this could be in the billions.
If it goes class action, it would shut them down.
Yeah, this would be in the billions.
You saw what happened when President Donald Trump went after him last night. It lost 5%. Can you imagine?
No, 23%.
Oh, my bad. Poor babies.
Jeff Bezos has lost 23% of his.
Poor baby. I'm sure he's hurting. I'm sure he can't pay his rent.
He's the first guy worth $100 billion.
Yeah, I'm sure he can't pay his rent.
Oh, yeah.
Like some people can't pay their rent because they lost their life behind the situation. Look, I respect business and capitalism at its best in this country. It allows us to compete, but you cannot be irresponsible.
Well, if they're doing this with the book side, what are they doing with fashion? What are they doing with electronics? What are they doing with gadgets?
Jesse,
what are they doing with cars? What are they doing?
We're sending out, we're having a press conference next week to actually publicly announce this to everybody.
We want to be there. I want to be there.
We're also writing a letter to the Justice Department and to the Trump administration asking for them to launch an investigation into this very allegations. Even just, if I may, the first cause of action we have against them is negligence. The second is gross negligence. The third is failure to deliberate indifference, failure to warn, and theft by false pretense. And I think the last one is that was the last one. Okay, we're asking for in compensation for it. We're asking for $100 million for actual costs.
And punitive $300
million for the punitive damages. We're asking for 20% of any and all gains in their profits of the stocks of Amazon that increased from the day my book was posted on their site. Okay, this is 100% of their shares of stocks. We're asking for injunctive relief, as we define, for them to put these protections in place for everybody else. We're asking for them to deliberately ban this guy from printing and publishing a book.
Yes.
On Amazon for life. Yeah. Under any corporation he's involved in or his name. Will that stop him? Unless they do what we're saying they're going to do, he can keep reinventing.
He'll just change his name.
Exactly. But if he has to send in business license and all that kind of stuff, at least he's creating a paper trail where we can one day catch him.
Right.
For fraud, even in creating a fake business.
Right.
There's things set in place.
Well, you know, they're facilitating fraud.
That's why we have them for fraud here.
Yeah.
Like I said, Amazon is not an innocent victim here. They are the money launderers for the dope dealers. As the dope world have people where they can send their dirty money to, this is where people who want to steal people's books go to Amazon.
Look, at anybody from Amazon watching or listening to the show, come on board. Let's talk. We'd love to bring you in here and get your point of view on this, and it'd be great to have you. So we have an open door policy to you guys at Amazon. If you're listening or watching, come on down. We'll hear your side of the story, and we'll continue this journey. Hey, the Reverend James Stern, James Hart Stern's book. Catch it at www.jamesstern.com. Great book, all about the KKK from the inside, the real good stuff. And if you want to contact him about this lawsuit, you might be having some problems, how can they contact you?
Just go to the same website, www.jamesstern, and put in your information, who you are and what you have to say, and we will be right back in contact with you.
All right, so, hey, you got to hear first on the Jesse T Show. We're going to be following this, okay? Follow it closely, brother. And because if they're doing wrong, they got to write it, because there's a whole lot of people. And that story about that NFL widow, that is heartbreaking.
That's our priority right there.
That's heartbreaking.
She's our priority.
Heartbreaking. Hey, the Jesse T Show. Thanks a lot, Reverend, for checking in with us. Love you, man. And, hey, guys, we'll see you tomorrow right here on The Power of Voices. The Brown Beauty's off duty. See ya!